Okay, today we're going to go over how to digitize all of your notes, capture them all online and all in one place. We're going to use Microsoft OneNote because it's free on most platforms, including Macintosh and Windows. And you can also use the mobile versions on, of course, the Windows platform, but also on Android and iPhone. All of these can be tied together through the magic of OneDrive. So if you use OneDrive, you can actually create a limited number of notebooks and then open them by just selecting them and telling it to open in OneNote if you want, or you can just use the web version, which has about, I don't know, 30% of the controls. They're all kind of hidden up here, but you do get a pretty decent experience considering this is all free. So, if you have a full version of OneNote installed, I definitely recommend using that because that's what we're going to go over today. Okay, so let's go ahead and pretend that we selected open this note, and we're in the full version of the OneNote platform. Now, OneNote is broken into a different hierarchy where you have individual notebooks and then you have tabs, and each tab contains pages. And each one of these is pretty much limitless. You can have a number of notebooks, a number of tabs, and obviously a number of sections for tabs. So if you don't have to have an unlimited scrolling bar up here at the top. And of course you can just add new pages on a whim. OneNote is obviously able to keep text, but it also stores images, sound files, video, handwriting, and tasks and meetings that can be linked with Outlook. This information will also be synchronized online and instantly searchable from the notes to the spoken word in recordings to the visible text and images. Just as a quick example of that, I can open this up, and here I see that this is just an image. I can't actually select any of the text, but I can still find it. So if I do a search for Microsoft, that gets highlighted in all different parts of the image. It recognizes all of that. I can also copy the text from an image and make it into editable text by right-clicking and selecting Copy Text from Picture. Over here, I can right-click and choose Paste. And there we go. I can now grab the text from everything that was stored in that image, and of course make up my own image with the same text if I wanted, or just include it in a proposal or something like that. You'll notice that the text isn't really stored in a particular format like Microsoft Word. They're in floating boxes here that you can expand and shape however you want and store anywhere on the page. And the page itself is virtually limitless. You can zoom out by holding Control and scrolling on your scrolling wheel on the mouse, or go to View and select the Zoom tool. We'll go back to 100%. Now once we've got the text on the page, we can break it down further with tags. This lets us tie information together that may not even be on the same notebook, but we can definitely search by them. So for instance, this is a source for article tag. They're all stored up here by default. You can make your own custom tags, but they got a good selection here that should be able to cover the basic stuff. So for instance, over here I've got a to-do list, and it's got technically a to-do tag, which I can actually interact with and mark it as checked or done. I can sit there and remove it if I don't need it to be a task item anymore, and my other tag takes its place. And if I want to find all the critical items, I could do a search for that. So if I go up here, I can do Find Tags, and see that it just gives me a quick summary here, but if I were to select, say, critical, I could hide it and view the other tags on this page, and other tags throughout the entire notebook. I can change that search down here, so if I want to narrow it down or include everything, I can do that. And tying in Outlook tasks and meetings isn't much different. You would just go up here and select either the tag you want, or selecting it again will remove it, or tell it to insert a particular meeting or something like that. Outlook tasks appears to be grayed out. Not sure why, but most of the time this is going to be enabled. I probably disabled a feature on Outlook, but by default this will be enabled, and you can go ahead and choose to add an Outlook task within OneNote, which will let you check it off and mark it as done and reflect it inside of Outlook as well, so they can tie the two together. But OneNote is really about adding a bunch of information that doesn't warrant its own document yet. Either you're still gathering it, or it's just a bunch of tidbits of information. But in general, it's just a nice clean place to store a variety of things so they don't get lost in your file hierarchy on your share drive or something like that. And if you wish, you can have other people edit it by sharing it out, going to File and Share. if they have a Microsoft ID or if they're in your same company, they should be able to make these changes as well. Right now it's just me. And as you may have noticed, you can also insert files. Now this is not a great file repository, but if you have a couple of files that are extremely relevant to a note, it's a great way to make sure it all gets included by going to the Insert tab. If I go to File Attachments, I can upload it, but I can also just drag and drop from a folder if I want. So say I grab a document over here, I've got something, and I just want to drop it in. It's going to prompt me for what type of insertion I want. I can insert the spreadsheet as a spreadsheet, I can insert the chart or a table, or I can just attach the file. The other two are more of a display feature that you can link with the file. It gets a little complex in how you edit that, but it's pretty straightforward still. Almost everything is done inside OneNote. You'll notice there's a lot of other options up here. I can, of course, insert tables, much like I can in Word. A bunch of images. I can link just to a variety of web pages, and the more advanced features here being you can record audio and video directly into OneNote. This would be great for like a meeting if you wanted to transcribe notes later. It can all still be tied in here. A little timestamp feature here that lets you insert the time. And of course there's page templates, which it'll probably pull from the web, but in general, so you don't have to recreate the wheel, you can choose something that somebody has already created. Now definitely one of the more advanced features, if you are a mathematician or somebody who uses math often, such as a student, they do have options here where you can insert formulas. And the great thing about these is they are editable. So by default, it lets me go ahead and make changes, and that will change the outcome of the formula when it's processed or when you tell it to go ahead and calculate it. Obviously, most people aren't going to use this feature, but it is handy when you do have something like that you need to insert. It lets you use everything, again, inside of OneNote. Some other neat features include the Draw tab. So if you have a Surface or a phone that accepts handwriting, and actually just as of recently the iPad app now offers the option to accept handwriting, you can use this feature. And if you have a stylus or if you're just really good at writing with a mouse, you can do that here. So say I wanted to start making some handwritten notes, I can do that, and my terrible potato handwriting will show through. But if you have better handwriting than me, this can be a pretty useful feature. You can also insert diagrams. So for instance, if I had a little process I wanted to map out, I could take advantage of OneNote's virtually limitless page size and insert a variety of shapes and include some text, maybe some images, tie it all together, and once again, use it all inside OneNote. And if you're worried about losing any of the data as you make changes, you have a history option here. If you use SharePoint, you can enable the versioning setting where the OneNote is stored, or I think you can do the same thing with Microsoft OneDrive, the personal version here that I pulled from originally. If it's not an option yet, then I'm sure it will be eventually. It's probably buried under options or something like that. Either way, you can always enable this option on your local PC as well, but file versioning is very useful. If you want to enable it, you can see all the different versions of a particular note by just selecting this button, and you get these little gray options here that tell you what date that this OneNote version was saved, and you can tell it to restore by checking or selecting this little tan bar, but I don't want to do that. And if you accidentally delete something, you can pull it up over here. So there's a variety of options for keeping this thing in order despite how many authors you might have. You can see which authors did what. You'll see that by default when you first open it up. If somebody makes a change, everything gets marked in bold, and if you select that page, you'll see an author's note right here. So everything right here was done by John, and it's highlighted in red. That will change by the author. So if you have multiple authors, they each get their own color. You get a review tab, which doesn't really have a track changes option, but it does have an option for thesaurus, spell check, and so on. And of course, you can lock down sections so that only you or a few team members can access that page or tab or whatever. And of course, you can access different notebooks or link them together using the linked notes option. If you do that, it prompts you for which page or notebook you want to tie together and how. And that actually accidentally tripped into the next feature, which is you can change the view for OneNote pretty much on a whim to suit what you're looking at. If you want to dock it to the desktop, you can do that, so it helps you keep notes. So it's just letting me know here that since it's running docked, if I watch a video or I go through a website, it's automatically going to annotate where it's from, where I took those notes what I was looking at when I took those notes. So anyway, so if you want to get back to the old mode, you can just expand it, go to View, turn off the Dock to Desktop feature. Of course, there's also full page. This is particularly useful when you have a tablet. Just basically formats everything out of the way, or hides it. And of course, you can create multiple windows if you want to start tying things together between the two. And we got some more of the zoom features here that were set to just make the screen fill in a little smoother. And lastly, of course, there's the cosmetic options. You can change the color of the background, you can add different features. So in this case, I enabled ruled lines. I can turn those off, but that can come in handy, say, if you're drawing a graph or if you're doing some handwriting and you want something to base where you're writing off of. And lastly, once you're done writing in OneNote, you can just close it out. There is no save button because it's constantly keeping you up to date. Hope you all enjoyed this video and found it relatively useful. If not, leave me a comment. If so, leave me a comment. Thanks.